Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. In both the Lin Life and the Jamie Body Mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many Search for Truth rules already given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And many of those rules have been covered on camera, and we can provide links to them if you want. Sometimes in this interdimensional effort of inspiring a divine plan and a divine miracle to stop the destruction of planet Earth at humanity's hands using tools sent in by the spirit world, because that is what's happening right now. And we think that the data very clearly shows that we need a divine miracle to change this trajectory. Sometimes in this work, things get stuck. The energy gets stuck. There's no forward progress. And when that happens, it's helpful to use the physical symptoms of the physical body, which are beautiful bringers of messages. So we have a lovely bouquet of symptoms, and the symptoms are all collected in the toes of this foot, and every toe has its own story, its own pattern of symptoms. So we're going to try for a healing session to unstick the big work.
Claiming the interior of the bubble as sacred, safe, private, healing, learning, growing space. And it's not that I'm confused. I know that you can break in if you want to. But now that we've said it, it's a little clearer what the intention is. And so it's a little less credible that somebody breaking in wouldn't know that we're trying to create a sacred space here. Starting to call up for those presences in much, much higher dimensions who are working to stop the destruction in a fair and just way. Because there are a lot of presences much closer who are working to stop the destruction, and that's where their inquiry is ending. And that's how bad things can happen. So trying to find presences way up there who are working to stop the destruction in a fair and just way. I'm wondering if you might be willing to offer some guidance and some support in this healing process today, because I know that these symptoms are actually about things that are much bigger than toes, things that are much bigger than a human. They're about some enormous messages, about enormous problems. And we have 5 toes with problems on 2 different feet in the same body. And each one of the toes has their own issues, and they're all different. My best guess is they're all somehow about life in the depths, not working, bad things happening in smaller dimensions than yours who are listening. We've got 5 toes with problems, and I'm wondering if it's all right if I just start to work through them. Well, I guess that feels like you're going to have to tell me more about the toes, and then I'll decide if I'm willing to keep listening to what is going on down there.
They keep showing the toes of the Statue of Liberty.
I see that, the big green toes
the
of
green
the Statue
toes,
of Liberty. I can see that.
which would imply that the level we're tuning into is possibly the angels for the U.S. or angels of capitalism,
that starts to
or
feel
something
calm.
like that, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would they be showing us those big toes of
Big
the Statue of
toes.
Liberty?
And they feel very connected to the United States. Like I can feel their star-spangled fingertips.
Yes.
There. And there's a lot of hubbub in that room with those angels who are responsible for the United States. There's a lot of arguing. It looks kind of like those national conventions of political parties when there's a really big room, a really big convention center, and the floor has a bunch of people standing on it, and they're yelling and waving things around and wearing different outfits and silly hats. That's what someone just said. Noisemakers making noise. I don't feel a lot of real thinking going on in that room.
I don't think they're thinking.
No, I don't. It mostly just feels like they're yelling at each other their own opinions, or not even. It's just like things they decided they were going to say.
Slogans, maybe.
Slogans is a good word for that feeling. And they're all shouting at each other their slogans. I wonder if we can find whoever is responsible, because that's
Get
not
above
room.
this room.
Exactly.
This is crazy.
That's not the room to listen to. Let's see if we can get higher than that room. There, now it starts to get quieter.
See if you can find someone for the planet, because this is a global situation.
Exactly. Feel like I can get somebody who's somehow responsible for planet Earth, and they feel disinterested in a lot of stuff that the last group was interested in. They're interested in the Amazon, they're interested in the destruction. They're talking about this phenomenon that we've seen a lot over the last 2 weeks. When a fact is presented, and the way that you look at the fact, the angle that you look at the fact from, can make a completely different determination about what the fact actually means. And I can tell this is connected to the toe, so I'm going to roll with it. And they're talking about how one of the facts, and this is just an example, and it's the one that I can catch right now, is about the vaccine for Ebola. And how Ebola, the first outbreak, was discovered in, I think, 1976 in Africa, and the first vaccine for Ebola, I think, was developed and produced in something like 2019. That's what they're saying, 2019. And they're saying that is a fact. The fact is that Ebola, the outbreak that was first really recognized, was in 1976. The vaccine came out in 2019. And if you look at that fact, that basic series of dates from one angle in reference to the COVID-19 situation here on planet Earth, if you look at it from one angle, you would be tempted to say that this means surely we will be able to have a vaccine very quickly for the COVID-19 virus, because we've broken through on vaccines and we're on a roll. And if you look at that series of dates from a different perspective, you would say it's going to take a very, very long time to get a vaccine for the COVID-19 virus, because 1976 to 2019 is a reasonably long time by human standards. And they're saying you could present that same fact, those same 2 dates, either one of those ways, and people would receive it in a completely different way. And they're talking about that, and now they're starting to draw lines to really big historic events that are happening right now. They're talking about, obviously, the COVID-19. They're talking about the fires in the Amazon. They're talking about, they're talking about the melting of the Arctic and Antarctica both, and they're talking about an election that's coming up in the United States, and these are global presences, but they seem aware that it matters on a global scale. And they're talking about how it's really starting to look like Donald Trump is going to be reelected, and we personally, the host lives, that is a bummer for us. But they're talking about how, looking at that from different perspectives, you would have different outcomes of how you would feel about that. They're talking about stopping the destruction in a fair and just way. And they're talking about shutting down human society or closing up human society, wiping out, cleaning up could be what they're talking about. Someone in that higher dimension room that seems like they're responsible for planet Earth is saying it really depends on what your goal is. Are you trying to do it fast or slow? An easy landing or a hard landing?
I think they want an easy landing.
I think they want an easy landing, right? That's what that feeling is, like looking for a soft landing.
That's what they've said over and over again. They said that
right?
They want to be able to salvage something, and in order to be able to salvage something, they're going to have a soft landing.
And they definitely want to salvage something in that room, that higher dimension room. They feel kind of fussy about the idea of loss of the good things. Maybe we just put the toes back on the table. Because what we're here to do today is to heal the root causes of problems in these 5 different toes. And maybe we just go toe by toe to get the messages easy. Because I can tell there's a lot of disagreement going on upstairs. And so maybe if we just start with the simple things, it will be more helpful. Okay, they're still listening. On the second toe of the right foot of this body right here, there's this old running injury of the toenail. I'm going to look at it with my eyes. It's this one right here. There we go. And you can see the toenail is purplish and it's threatening to separate from the toe. And that's been going on for a while. And for a long time we were trying a lot of things that weren't seeming to have a whole lot of impact. And then sometime in the last few months we started doing this exercise, this process of working with the life path, smoothing out the life path, straightening out the life path. And we've been using the life path that these 2 host lives have, and also a lot of other presences affiliated with planet Earth have. And generally the way that that life path is worded is to shorten the karmic cycles and re-establish upward flow for the even deeper, denser dimensions. And when we started working with that life path, the toenail started to change, I think really for the first time since we had started working with it as a message bringer. And now you'll notice moving forward from the toe, outward from the toe, if you can look through my eyes. And what you'll see if you can look out my eyes, you'll see that the old growth of the toenail is bumpier, is in worse shape, and the newer growth is smoother.
And there's like a crease, like a line in the sand where you can see the difference between the way it had been going and the way it's going now.
Exactly. And you can see that crease right there. And so we can see that there is change, that something is happening. So we're asking what now to heal the root causes of this toenail's issues and whatever they represent. in such a way as to align with that soul plan. And to stop the destruction in a fair and just way. What do we do now? And that's surprisingly opening in the head. It's like it's something that's not theoretical. There's a real thing to think about, I guess, is the feeling upstairs. What do we do now?
Somebody's coming, but I think they're coming from the future. They're coming like through the time tunnels.
That's what that looks like they're coming from a future point in time, and they're traveling back toward us, and they have gear on their backs like people who have been carving tunnels out of rock, like pickaxes.
I don't think now is the time to deal with them.
No,
maybe
I
we're just supposed to
don't.
put it on
Maybe we
the
just
table
put it on
and
the
go on to
table.
the other foot.
That's
'Cause
our best
this
guess.
one is improving. The other ones are not improving.
Exactly.
Maybe this is just kind of like an acknowledgement, and now we move on.
And now we move forward. That feels much calmer. Now finding that room way up there again.